Now, you might remember these names: Mwandawiro Mghanga, James Orengo, Karl or Christopher Owiro, as he was known, and Titus Adungosi. Those are the men who put the University of Nairobi on the map. They fought for social justice and national issues. Through them, university students could stand up and be counted. But now the thought of student leadership is almost synonymous with frequent and violent riots. The stakeholders in the education sector are now raising concerns about student unrest at higher levels of learning. Catherine Omwanto explains.
When student leaders of the 80s and 90s rose to make a point, the country would listen. They were responsible for the organization of some of the most significant demonstrations during the one-party rule. Fast forward to the 21st century, especially after the promulgation of the new constitution in August 2010. It would seem that the agenda of student leaders has changed, and it's got stakeholders worried.
When this happens, it gets out of our campuses and spills over to the roads and becomes just basic public nuisance.
And therefore, the government is concerned, stakeholders are concerned. What is happening in our universities? One university goes on strike within a few days, or almost simultaneously, others go on strike. This is not a cup of tea, because it has its own implications, which are manifold.
This year alone, there have been 3 major university strikes. In September, all public universities went on strike, demanding the release of funds from the Higher Education Loans Board.
I think, on the contrary, student leadership is very vibrant now. Of course, people mistake the fact that the student years of yesteryears were fighting a dictatorship, and that there were clear global ideological differences ongoing in the world. That the lack of those right now means that the student leaders of this time don't really have issues. But I think, on the contrary, student leaders currently are fighting very national issues.
When we talk about issue of fee, it's a genuine concern. It is a national issue, because this is an issue that affects our kids. This is an issue that affects our parents, our family, friends, and any other person that has a relative in the university. This is an issue that if the university fees increased, then in one way or the other, another sibling somewhere may not eat because of that.
Even as they say, the fight to subsidize university school fees was intended to ease the burden for parents and students alike. Why the violence?
When you look at the police, the way they handle the riots, when you start demonstrating, it is always obvious that the police starts throwing tear gas. When police start throwing tear gas, then the demonstration turns into something very violent. That's when now there are other interests coming in. That's when you see even the people who are joining us, they tend to move towards cars.
Student leaders of today still believe that they champion the cause for the common mwananchi. But when we spoke to Kenyans, they say that somehow they've lost the plot. Given the violent riots, it's no longer safe to say that student leaders are for the people.
Before, they were more conscious. They're doing it for the people at no price. So I'd say the current student leadership we cannot compare anything to the old 20 years ago. And I think this needs to change, especially in the wake of a lot of universities coming up.
They've been a little bit lazy or something like that.
There's something which makes them to go to riot. So if that thing is not addressed, definitely there will be a riot, because they want to be listened.
Do you think that the reasons for striking are valid nowadays?
It's not really valid.
The very mention of a university students' demonstration will send residents scampering for safety, a situation which often leaves a bad taste in the mouths of other Kenyans, raising questions about today's student activism. Catherine Omwanto, KTN.